Okay, so this one's a 5625. It's about 100 engine horsepower. I think it's like 85, 90 PTO. Customer complaint was the 3-point hitch wasn't working. I should have taken a video. When you tried it, it would load up the hydraulic pump and nothing would happen. So we plugged into it. There's no codes. Verified everything was working, the height position sensor, everything. So if it was loading the pump up, it would be trying to lift, but there's nothing to lift. The hitch was on the down position. It was pulling a deep ripper when it happened. So it's got to be a mechanical issue inside. I'm fairly confident. These do have a little bit of a, it's a decent electrical system, but when they act up, then they can not work at all. But usually the light's flashing. And this case, we didn't have, like I said, any electrical issues. So we suspect it's a mechanical fault. So for the sake of saving time, drop 3-point hitch arms. There is a valve on the side that needs to be pulled off to get one bolt in front of that rock shaft arm. And then pull all these bolts off. Don't have to lift the cab yet. I'm hoping I don't have to. Pull that tire off to take some lines off the valves. These lines go to your SCVs, your rear remotes. And that's what these cables are for as well. But that should all stay out of the way now. And we should be ready to rock. So here's hoping everything goes good. Spilled some oil. Back in here. Wasn't able to get it down that low before. But now we can. We should be free of everything now. A little better. So that's where the valve sits, and that's the valve here. See, it only has a return to dump into the sump here when it's lowering the hitch. Lifting it, pushes this piston. Oh, I thought something was going to be cracked here, but you can see what the problem is that guy's cracked on that shaft. So all the lifting is done by these top link arms. Sometimes you'll see an assist, or some tractors will have a hydraulic cylinder, 2 hydraulic cylinders outside. But that shaft is busted. That's why that's in so far. It shouldn't be like that. It's actually jumped over a few teeth. That's why I wasn't able to lift any higher. But yeah, it was actually hitting the housing over there. You can see that. That's all there is to it though. Just that one big fat piston gets all that leverage. You can see inside there. Maybe you can't because of the light, but so we're going to strip the shaft out of it. Okay, so I got the arms off camera. I'm using the air hammer. This one came off fairly easy. This one needed a little bit of work. And then I was able to drive the pin out. That pushes against the cylinder. There gives you a better idea what broke. These 2 snap rings need to come off. And then we can slide this off and the pin goes out to the right here. And we can just assemble it backwards. I'll try showing you just how I walk because that's kind of galled up. but this will be noisy. So hopefully you can see how that just walks it off. And you can see that the splines are starting, I did that, but starting to get chewed up a little bit there. So I just gotta jump this clip over. Hopefully you can see that. That's new and old. So you can see these are smooth. Maybe you can't see that. These are still square on here. So we're changing both. Here's a new rod. And those bushings are going to be fine. We can go back in with that. Yeah. You can see daylight through there. Just cracked, walked around, wouldn't lift anymore. Now there is, I got this together too. There is a mark on this shaft. I think to time it, but there's nothing in the repair manuals on at least a few that I looked up on any timing sequence. So we're just gonna spitball it, make a note of where we put that mark. See how that edge is this way and this way? So we gotta go this way, so it's off the edge. Wait a second, no. That's gonna hold that. We gotta go this way. So it's off the edge of this thing, so these things can bite it. There's one of these, I don't know if it was a part before, it was on backwards, and it just makes for a complete pain in the butt. You're trying to get them on or off, or whatever you're trying to do. Yeah, that one's right too. Alright, so see the yellow painted in factory. The original one had no markings on it, so that must be for a different application where something's got to be timed. Oh, the joys. I might get some better snap ring pliers. These are my big ones, but moving on there. So I think we'll leave it at that. Once we put the spacers, O-ring goes in here. The O-ring on either side, then a washer, then the arm. This side has a special arm for the 3-point hitch sensor. I can show you that. And that goes on, that's the left side. I think I'm just going to clean it up, clean this up, and then put it back on. That's basically all that piston does. And that's all controlled through the valve on this side. I'll try to show that once I have it back on or up in the air. So while I have this apart, I'll try to do a better job showing you, because you can see quite a bit in here. So this top drive line, that's for the PTO. This is a PTO clutch. You can see on this side, down in there, the PTO brake pushes against this to keep it from turning, but it needs hydraulic pressure. This solenoid controls the on-off of the PTO. And then further in there, you can see that there's a fork. This is a 2-speed PTO, not 540 and 1000, it's 540 and 540E. So what that does is that there's a cable in the cab that you can shift to get a different speed out of it. That comes over here. And then this pulls or pushes on the other cable, and that goes to the injection pump, and that limits the throttle movement, so you can't overspeed the PTO when you're in 540E. It's a pretty simple system in that regard, but I have had problems with guys complaining that they can't get full speed going down the road because the tractor won't go full RPM when you have it engaged in 540E because of that. And then again, simple tractor, that's just a mechanical diff lock. The only thing that's fancy on this thing is a 3-point hitch because it's electronic controls. And that's done through this window. The reason why it's such a big window is they use the same casting for mechanical controls, or if you're in an open station, you'd have something similar. So this is the door that bolts on there. 2 solenoids are just doing the control, oil in, oil out type of thing. And then when it does need to lift the hitch, that's through this port, goes through this window, that feeds that cylinder, and in turn lifts the 3-point hitch up. And then the other one is the dump. The electronic side of it deals with height, position, and draft. So we will have to calibrate this when it's all back together. I can't put this on because I can't get those bolts in. So I have to put sealant, flange sealant, anaerobic stuff on this end, or the tractor side, put this on, bolt it down. Then we can put this on, and then I'll be able to time these guys where they need to sit. And yeah, then we can calibrate it, we'll be done. Okay, so once I have everything back together, like you can see here, I'm heating the hydraulic oil. That's done, so I can take those hoses out. That's just a loop to warm things up. 50 degrees Celsius is the minimum to calibrate the hitch. What you can see in the background is a laptop that I'm using to actually calibrate the HCU, or the hitch control unit. The first thing that we do is it needs 200 pounds on the rear hitch. That's why I stand on the back. And then the engine needs to be at 2,000 RPM. And they want to make sure that, like I said, you have the hydraulic oil heated and that all the height knobs and controls are turned counterclockwise. That's what I'm doing in the cab there. And then they want you to cycle the hitch. Usually it takes 3 times. For some reason it was funny this time, and I had to do it 6. But basically what we're doing is we're pushing any of the cold oil out of the hitch valve and that large piston itself. So we just have to cycle it 6 times. Right there you can hear the engine load up, or the hydraulic pump load, because it doesn't know where in the stroke of the piston it's at. So when it hits the top, it still has that valve open, still trying to put full pressure to that piston and continue to lift. But once we're done the calibration, it won't do that anymore because it'll know that it's all the way at the top. I didn't show any of the sensors. The hitch position sensor is on the left lift arm, the top one on this tractor. These 5000s are a little bit different. That the draft sensors on the top link, most 6, 7, 8s are on a flexible shaft in between the 2 bottom arms, usually internal to the case, somewhere in there. Draft's not something that gets utilized too much anymore, but that's one of the things that gets calibrated here, or it needs to be calibrated. So now that that's done, we're into the calibration procedure, and we need to rotate the height limit control potentiometer. That's the one on the left that you can see, just through its full range of travel, so the computer can keep track of what's the high side, what's the low side, and know where you have that positioned. Then we need to do the rate of drop, and then after that we move the control lever all the way back to the 0 position, so it knows what the potentiometer reads at 0, and then all the way forward, so it knows the 9 position what it's reading, and it can break up those segments based on the output between those. Once that's done, we just need to press and hold the raise hitch button. Now this takes a while because what it's slowly doing is it's slowly adding oil. You can see it just starting to move maybe, but it slowly adds oil to that piston and sees how long that solenoid's open for how much movement it actually gets out of the hitch. And that's the calibration that it basically needs to do. So it knows how long to keep a solenoid open to make the hitch move a certain amount. And then once we're done this, we'll have to do this lower as well. Once it has it figured out, it basically takes off like you just saw there, so you gotta hold on a little bit. But this I found is the easiest way to get these done once they're warmed up. And I don't want to carry any weight with me, or most implements are over 200 to 300 pounds, so they don't work anyways. The bigger tractors most of the time have a quick hitch, and that usually is enough to be able to calibrate them. But now you can see here I'm holding the lower switch, and you can see it slowly goes down, and it's just seeing how much movement it gets for the duration it's keeping that lower valve open. But once it gets all the way to the bottom, then it'll have to perform its calculations for all those movements, and then we should be good. So here it's just computing those calculations, and then I'll show you once those are done. Just the inputs that it keeps in the hitch control unit. So that's it. That's calibrated. I hope I can get that on that screen. We'll get the tire back on, and then we can send it back to the customer. But no leaks. Everything looks good. Okay, thanks for watching.